Good evening, everybody. KevinJJohnston here. This is the Tax and Money Show, which is absolutely every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, we have a show entitled Trustees Are Criminals, Never Call Them. We're going to be covering the difference between trustees and lawyers. We got to talk about how the Canada Revenue Agency functions and what has been going on within the licensed accountant and licensed lawyer industry within Canada. My name is KevinJJohnston, Canada's #1 tax expert. I'm also Canada's #1 podcaster and biggest mouth. The Canadian government hates me very, very, very much, and that is okay. Being hated by those people makes me very happy. I'm the only one out there that the Canada Revenue Agency is positively terrified of because they have nothing to threaten me with. I've been studying tax law for 40 years in Canada and criminal law and civil law for 20. I've been in court hundreds of times, and I know how to strategize against the Canadian court system, which itself is a dog and pony show. It's a farce. It's a circus, and it's not to be feared any longer because they are losing ground left, right, and center. A couple of quick things to cover right now is everyone's concerned. Donald Trump's going to take the Panama Canal. No, he's not. Okay, everyone. No, he's not. It's bluster. Trump came out and said that China, I love the way he says that, China owns the Panama Canal. They don't. There is a Chinese shipping company that owns 4 cranes in the Panama Canal, but the country of Panama owns all the rest of them. That's all that it was. It was an investment in 4 cranes. Don't worry about it. China does not control any facet of the Panama Canal and has no say over how it's administered. But the one thing that Trump is not bluffing on is that he will be putting tariffs on Canada, and rightfully so. Now, as you all know, I am a Canadian citizen. Unfortunately, that used to mean something to me when I was a teenager. It used to mean something when I was young. And even until my 30s, Canada was a phenomenal place back in the 80s. It sucks now. I have absolutely no desire to go there whatsoever. And as you all know, we've had the Liberal Party ruling over Canada like a dictatorship for the last almost 9 years. Now, why would Trump want to put tariffs on Canada? Because he hates Trudeau. He hates Canadian liberalism. He cannot stand the United Kingdom's grasp over the Commonwealth nations like Canada. Trump understands that Canada is not a business country. One of the best descriptions I ever heard about Canada is Canadians are like chickens scratching the dirt to find things to sell to the Americans. And that's never been more true than today. Trump is an American. Trump does not owe anything to Mexico or Canada, regardless of what NAFTA says. He's the president of the United States, not the president of the world. When you have a country right next door, like Canada, that lets in terrorists en masse and cannot wait to go to war with the United States in any particular type of battle or war of attrition or whatever they want to call it, why would you not penalize the country next door? I am a Canadian who says to Trump, please penalize Canada so that the Canadian people finally have a reason to get off their butts and get out there and protest the way that the Polish do, the way that the Hungarians do, the way that the Panamanians and Mexicans do. Shut the country down. Get your government to do what you want. So Trump's going to force Canadians to do that. Yeah, tariffs are going to hurt. There could be 25% tariffs on every single Canadian export into the USA. I say good. All right. So if Uncle Trump is watching, I say good because I understand exactly what your strategy is. The average person won't, but I get it. Your strategy is to stop the Liberal government's capacity to harm America, and I'm all for that. For anybody who wants to get a hold of me, do so on my website, please. I do not have time to read messages or comments on social media anymore. I'm already being booked into February for your tax concerns, but that's okay. I'll still get to each and every one of you. My name, KevinJJohnston.com, and grab yourself a 1-hour consultation. We'll go through your tax issues, build a strategy, and solve your tax Problems. There we go. I'm just going to quickly check their questions here. All right. And Turtle voted for Trump. Good for you. And yes, I did leave Canada, everybody. I left Canada because I'm a highly skilled, highly talented individual who is not allowed to be a loud, big mouth marketeer and tax expert in Canada. The Canadian government put injunctions upon me on top of injunctions. There's 152 people I can't talk about, and there are subjects I'm not allowed to talk about inside of Canada. Why would I stay for something like that? There's no freedom of speech in Canada. It's a communist dump. So I came to Panama, where you have freedom of speech. You're free to do whatever you wish so long as you don't harm anyone. No one's going to pester you or bother you here. And the corporation I formed here in Panama is doing very well. So everyone, join me. Come on down to Panama and check it out for yourselves, but also join me in this battle against stupidity in Canada, such as the Canada Revenue Agency. To repeat myself from previous shows, if you're in Canada, you need to understand that the Canada Revenue Agency is not a police force. No powers of arrest, no powers of detention. They do not have any capacity to get search warrants at all because they're not cops. They do not have absolutely any way whatsoever to force you to do anything at all because they don't get court injunctions. They don't file motions in the court. They don't get court orders, and they don't sue people. That's literally the truth with the Canada Revenue Agency. With all that in mind, you need to have the freedom up here to be fear-free and then come to me to get your tax problems solved. Now, I don't normally bring guests on the Money Show, but this is a gentleman who came to me, saw me on TikTok, came to me and asked me what his rights were in reference to the Canada Revenue Agency absolutely raking him over the coals. And the reason I brought this gentleman on the show tonight is you need to hear his story so that you don't repeat the mistake that he made. And he didn't make the mistake through any fault of his own. He was simply lied to by a supposed professional in the taxation game, someone who misrepresented themselves as a lawyer when they were not a lawyer. So, Paul, I want to say welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Let me just get your face up there. Thank you.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Listen, we're doing great. And I want to say thank you for being here because Canadians need to hear your story. I don't want them repeating what's been done to you. I don't want that to happen at all to anyone.
Absolutely. So, that's part of the reason that I'm here as well.
And thank you for doing it. So let's just dive right into it. Who are you and what happened? Go ahead.
My name's Paul. I live in the Durham region, just east of Toronto. I lived here most of my life. After my dad passed, I ended up purchasing the family home, and that's the home I've been living in for since I was a kid, since I was 6. So this saga kind of started about June of last year when I first received communication from the CRA. They had been searching for me for 5 or 6 weeks, but I was out of the country, not evading, just living life. And finally, when I spoke to my mother said that, the CRA was looking for you. You need to get in touch with them. So I got in touch with them. They informed me that I was being audited for a GST account for my business. I have a sole proprietorship. I'm in the construction industry. And they said for 2020 or 2022, there was some issues and they were going to send an auditor to my house. And I didn't like the sound of that, but I didn't feel like I had a choice in the matter. So naturally, I went into panic mode, scrambling to gather receipts and to prepare for the auditor's arrival. The auditor was not nice when he came to my home. He was quite gruff with me. I have a bit of a problem with authority as it is, so I put a pole up his spine pretty quickly to try and say to him, hey, listen, you're in my home, respect me, let's go through this like as adults. And I still didn't like the cut of his jib, but I continued because this is where we were. I immediately asked after the auditor left, what my payment options would be because I was in arrears. Do you want me to say the amount, Kevin, or?
Sure. Yeah, by all means.
Okay,
It's your
so
story, brother.
it's about $13,000. So it wasn't a huge amount, but I'm not a rich man. And, the CRA was not willing to give me more than 6 months to pay this. And at that point, $2,000 a month for me was just not a possibility. And my wife and I had some mounting bills, credit card bills, and we were kind of getting buried. And I was kind of backed into a corner. So I called A. Fisher because I saw them on the internet. They said they're tax lawyers and they would advocate for you to lower your debt with the CRA. So when I called them, I was curious about the bankruptcy situation, and they said if I went bankrupt that I could not run my business anymore, which is just not an option. I know I look pretty old with the white beard, but I still have a few working years left, and I'm not about to retire, so I need to still be able to run a business. So the next option they offered to me was this consumer proposal. So
Yeah.
they said with a consumer proposal that they would take all of my debt. So they would take the CRA debt, my credit card debt, consolidate it, fight to lower that debt, and then give me a monthly payment that I could pay over 60 months. To be honest, I wasn't really, all about getting into a 60-month commitment, but we were kind of backed into a position. So I signed the consumer proposal and I started to make the payments. And I paid for 1 month. I didn't hear anything. I paid for 2 months. I didn't hear anything. I paid for 3 months. You think you're on tap and everything is going well. Well, when the fourth month was coming up, I got a call from A. Fisher saying that
Sorry. What's the name of the company you went to?
A. Fisher and Associates.
A. Fisher and Associates. Yeah, please continue.
Okay, so they I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So they came back to me and they said, listen, Paul, all your creditors came back, including the CRA. When I was signing the paperwork, they told me that there might be a possibility that the creditors wouldn't accept what they were offering. But she said that only happens 1% of the time, and it's usually just one creditor. You have a few creditors, they usually gang together and everything works out. So I wasn't really expecting them to come back to me. So when she came back to me and said, all of your creditors said no, they want more money from you monthly. I happened to be on a job outside of province at the time. And I told her on the phone, listen, I have no more money. There is no more money monthly. Like you would be taking literally food off my plate. And that is not an option for me. I have a family to feed and I'm going to eat every night. I'm not going to be paying you guys. So like, I want to settle this debt, but we agreed on a price and that's what I've been paying. So what is going on here? It went on for another couple months. They were taking the money out of my bank and we got overwhelmed with the bills. And it made us put us in a position where the house that's been in my family for 46 years, we had to seriously consider selling it to get out of the situation that we were in. And I really didn't want to do that, Kevin. I didn't want to, I wanted, that's my home, man, and I'm at the time in my life where, the home is where I spend my time. So they really backed me up into a corner, and in order to get the house to the point that we could sell it, sure, and most of the people out there know, like you don't just one day sell your house. You put some time into it. I'm a contractor, so we did painting. I cleaned up the backyard. I made sure the kitchen was right because I wanted to get the most amount of money for this home that I've been paying for 40 odd years. And I incurred some more debt when we did that in order to get the house where we needed it to be to sell. And we were very lucky. I found a really good real estate agent who was a solid guy. He charged me a little bit less than the going rate, and we got the house sold pretty quickly. And in the interim, A. Fisher is pinging me. And so I answered the call, and A. Fisher says to me that what's going on? We were supposed to meet on the 10th. And I said, listen, I'm in the process of selling my house because you guys backed me into a corner. And now I have no other option. So I have to deal with the sale of my house. This is the date that the house closes. I will get in touch with you after that so I can figure out what decision I'm going to make. She immediately came back with an email asking me to disclose because she went straight to the CRA and told them that I sold my house.
The
So she,
trustee you hold on. The trustee you hired
yes,
told the CRA you sold your house.
yes.
Isn't that
So,
something?
and then came back to me and said that I had to disclose how much I sold my house for. And that's when that's when I thought of you, Kevin, because, I've been following you for a while, man. It has nothing to do with this tax situation. I liked the way you stand up for people. And I know your parents' story and that affected me as well, right? So, um, when it smells fishy, something's fishy. And at that point I was like, you know what? I don't really know what my rights are here. This guy's supposed to be a lawyer, or these people are supposed to be lawyers, but I don't feel like I'm being advocated for. And my, with the credit card debt and the CRA debt, the number was 33,000. And the number that she was talking to me about, excuse me, was 46,000. So my debt didn't go down, it went up. So I'm like, who's advocating for me in this situation? And why is it that I have to tell the CRA, like, what they want to come back and double dip now? Now they know that I got a little money. By the way, what we sold the house for and what I owed on my 3 mortgages, I ended up with almost nothing. Ended up, after paying my debt to make the house sellable, I ended up
Right.
with almost nothing. And I'll be damned if I'm giving that to the CRA. So
Okay.
hence is why I contacted you to have a consultation. And to all your watchers, your viewers out there, Kevin, listen, if you have a problem and you need to talk to somebody, because this was affecting me physically, the mental stress was affecting me physically, I'm a pretty physically fit person, and the anxiety that was chasing me around every day, I wasn't sleeping and I wasn't well. And as soon as I paid for the consultation with Kevin, it's worth it. um, uh, I That anxiety level went down because nobody in this situation has been advocating for me. And it's one thing to have a really good surgeon. It's another thing to have a surgeon that doesn't have a bedside manner. And Kevin at least is a good surgeon. Plus, he can explain to me, which I thought is why I hired A. Fisher. They should be explaining to me and advocating for me what I can do, because I was doing my due diligence to pay. And let's not forget that I offered to the CRA from get go. Listen, if you guys will give me a little bit more time, 6 months is not a possibility for me to pay off $13,000. I'm not a rich man. And that is just not a month, like $2,000 extra a month for me is just not going to happen. So, this is kind of where we are right now. So I contacted Kevin, and Kevin created a strategy, and he attended a meeting for me that A. Fisher wouldn't respond to him. A. Fisher got a power of attorney that I passed on to Kevin for all my tax issues, as well as all communications from here forth should go through my representative, KevinJJohnston. They have those emails and letters from me. I forwarded them to Kevin, so Kevin has them as well. So the fact that they decided not to talk to Kevin in a meeting that they said that I had to attend, that Viviana, their representative, had to attend, that all my creditors, which is 3 credit cards and the CRA, and from what I hear from Kevin, because he attended for me, none of them showed up. The only people that showed up were Kevin and A. Fisher's guy, right? What Andy? I don't even know who the guy is. And
Okay.
that guy. So that guy, all the creditors were supposed to be there, but Kevin informed me that it was just Viviana and A. Fisher, the actual A. Fisher. I don't know his first name. So
Okay. So Paul,
yeah,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just gonna talk about your story here. And I
okay,
want to break it down. So, like most Canadians and many Americans in Democrat-run states, you're in tax debt. Yeah, and you
correct,
don't know what to do.
exactly.
The Canada Revenue Agency is pestering you with letters and phone calls, which is what they do. And funny enough, that is actually the only right that the CRA has. the right to contact you, but not the right to enforce. They have zero rights to enforce. So you don't know what to do. And you contact this company called A. Fisher and Associates. A guy named Andy Fisher runs this company. And he told you he was a lawyer. Is that correct?
Never met him, never talked to him.
Really?
Never.
So
That's
you never
why
talked
when you showed me his picture tonight, I was like, who's that? And you were like, oh, that's Andy Fisher.
Okay,
First, I didn't
this is the
never,
guy, right?
yeah, never met him, never talked to him.
Okay, so I went through this Trustees website. It starts off with a video where he talks about how amazing he is at solving problems and that he's the one who's going to talk to all of his clients, but you don't even talk to this guy. Okay.
I
So
talked to one initial, and then Viviana was the second person, but never him.
Okay, so he represents himself as a lawyer. Then he takes all your information and he snitches on you to the Canada Revenue Agency and to the credit card companies and to creditors. The guy you're paying to represent you snitches on you as to what you have and what he thinks that you can pay. And then
Correct.
He comes back to you and tells you, you got to give money, but you hired him so you didn't have to give any money to anybody.
And when I agreed to give the money, they came back for more. Right? So like, why did I sign on the dotted line? Why wasn't I informed that there could be a change in the monthly? Like, none of that came through to me, right? So
Okay, I'm going to go further with this. He was aware that this auditor from the Canada Revenue Agency came to your house, misrepresented his rights. My understanding is that he told you that he had the right to enter your house and that you had no rights to stop him. Is that pretty much correct?
absolutely, because my mindset is of your mindset. Like, what? You're coming into my house? Well, then you better act loyally first if you're going to come in. Second, like, you got to at least put me in a position where I feel like I have to let you in, because my initial reaction is not to. So yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay, and because you don't know the law, you, I guess, assumed that he was allowed to come in. And what I can tell you is,
yeah, they put you in a position where you feel that way, right?
right. Okay, so to recap what I've said before on my show, there is absolutely no way that they are allowed into your home if you just say no. But you wouldn't have known that, and Canadians don't know that. Auditors for the Canada Revenue Agency have zero authority. It's not like the IRS in the States. They have absolutely no authority whatsoever. So if you even raise your voice to a representative of the CRA, according to their handbook, Chapter 10 of the Auditor's Handbook, they will call that a hostile environment, and they will actually end the audit on the spot. So had you sworn at this guy and maybe called him names, he would have had to leave because they're a bunch of wimps.
I wish I would have done that, because that's my initial reaction, Kevin. Like, I hate to be crude, but that was my initial reaction. And, we kind of went through, my wife's from Latin America. And when she was we were going through this COVID thing, and we were supposed to be separated. And they sent 2 police officers with guns to my house looking for my wife, right? That was the point at which my nose turned up first about, especially about what you said about Canada. Like, I'm still here in Canada, but where I'm going, at the end of the week, right? Like, I'm going.
I won't be saying anything about that, but I do know that you're, whatever. So
Same, right? I have the same mindset as you. So I mean, bottom line is I don't feel, I feel like I got took. And after what you told me about what happened in the meeting, I feel like even double, because these people lied to me. They said that the creditors were going to be in that meeting and the CRA, and that didn't happen. And I'm doubly, you saw my face. I was pretty surprised when you told me that. The fact that they sent 5 or 6 emails with the same information: you must be there, you must attend, you must be there. Right?
I want to explain what you're talking about now. Okay, so here's what happens, everybody, is trustees in Canada, they are licensed by the law societies of each individual province. But what they often do is they state to the public that they are lawyers. Now, that's a crime in Canada. You can actually file criminal charges against this guy, and I'm going to help you do it. because for someone to say that they are a lawyer representing you, and then in reality being a trustee who does not represent you, they represent your creditors. And that's what trustees are, everybody. They represent your creditors, and their job is to get money from you. Even though you pay them, their job is to get money from you and give it to your creditors, no matter how bad a position it puts you, the people, in.
My my naivety put me there, and my lack of gumption to say no, right? And it's because you have that fear. And I got to be honest with you, Kevin. The fear was losing my house, and now I've lost it. So
and that's the other part that I want to discuss with you right now here is this company. And again, let's put this guy's face up here. This is Andy Fisher. He created a company called A. Fisher and Associates. He lies to the public and tells them he's a lawyer, and he's not. He's a trustee. So this individual has some part-time girl working for him, and this part-time girl who lies to you as well and says she's a legal agent for you, finds out from you that you had to sell your house to pay your bills. And then immediately the same day you tell her this, she phones the Canada Revenue Agency and says, my client just sold his house. And that's when the CRA contacts you for money. Do I have it right?
That's basically the story, except she didn't just do it with the CRA. She did it with all the creditors. So they're like, okay, well, this guy's got money now, so let's go double dip. So they all said no to the $555 that I was paying a month now for the past 5 months. Oh, okay, so he sold his house, so he's going to have some money. So maybe we can double dip and he can pay us off. But as I told you, to get the house to where it needed to be to sell, and after paying off the 3 mortgages, I was left with basically nothing. I almost broke even. So their idea to come in and come now I say, come, because I got nothing left, Kevin. You know what I mean? Like, I have nothing left.
I get it. So to finish off what's happened here, the trustee lied to you. Now, I know this because I read the emails that they sent you. They lied to you saying that you were going to be in a virtual courtroom talking to your trustee and the Canada Revenue Agency and one representative from each of your creditors. Now, you did the right thing. You hired me. And
Exactly.
here's the cool part, everyone, is even though I'm not a licensed lawyer, I am what you call a legal agent. I'm not just your tax guy, I'm your legal agent. And you and I agreed that you were going to give me power of attorney, but only over your taxation issues.
Correct.
So we sent in to this A. Fisher and Associates the power of attorney. And when this supposed court date started, it was all by telephone, not even Zoom. I stated, my name is KevinJJohnston. I am legal counsel and power of attorney for you, Paul. And what happened is they didn't want to talk to me. This guy, Andy Fisher, who lied to us saying that all the creditors were there, was the only one in the virtual room. And he just kept talking over me, not granting me the capacity to introduce myself as your agent. But he was the only voice there. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Paul.
And he lied. He said those people were going to be in that, right?
They weren't there. Now, here's what happened. This is the part you didn't hear. And this is the part, obviously, none of you did. And I did record these conversations. And Paul, we're going to cut your name and everything out of it and just release it to the public.
Done.
But what had happened here, everybody, is I actually phoned this company's head office, A. Fisher and Associates, and I managed to get this not so bright secretary on the phone, and I asked to speak to Andy Fisher, the president, to which that is when this individual who works for the company tells me the truth. Oh, he's conducting a hearing alone today. He can't talk to you. Like, yeah, I know. I was just in the hearing, and he hung up on me. So this is the problem.
Pony show.
Okay, so I brought you here today so that people can get an idea of just how painful it is when a trustee lies to you and says that they are a lawyer, and you mistakenly hire a trustee to represent you against the Canada Revenue Agency because the trustee works for the Canada Revenue Agency and not you, Paul, and not for any of you watching the show either.
And what I would say is, I feel like, boom, because it was is my lack of knowledge that got me into this position. But I don't want anyone to save me. I was looking for a way to actually pay my debt, but now they backed me up and put me at the precipice of this cliff, and I've lost my house now. Now I feel like I'm on the offensive, right? And
Right.
that's hence why I spoke to you and found out what my rights are, you know there's nothing fabricated here, Kevin. Like, we had a chat before the show what we were going to talk about, and this is all truism. So there's no fabrication here. It's super difficult to fabricate something like this. This all
Well,
happened.
I recorded
So
the conversations, so I mean, when I release it to the public, they're going to hear it. Now, this is the website for A. Fisher and Associates, and I don't really care what this A. Fisher guy thinks about what I'm going to say, but this guy's a crook. Okay, he is a criminal. When he says he's a lawyer and he's going to solve your tax problems and then doubles your tax problem, he's a crook. So this is the website. Looks like he's got a bunch of fake reviews here on the homepage. Stock photography of a secretary, a couple of icons here, and so on. And then he's got this page called Meet the Team, which shows him. Some guy named Chad Zizo, some guy named Dennis Kish. This is the girl I talked to, Lana Loptana. She's not very smart. She's the one that divulged all the information about the company. Now, I just want to read what he says here about a consumer proposal, and I'm going to deconstruct this here. It says, consumer proposal, repay a percentage of your total debts through manageable monthly payments. What is a consumer proposal? It is a legally binding agreement between you and your creditors that allows you to pay a portion of your debts, often as little as 30%, through a single manageable monthly payment. A consumer proposal can only be filed with a federally regulated licensed insolvency trustee like this loser, A. Fisher and Associates, and could reduce your total debts by as much as 70%. An alternative to bankruptcy, a consumer proposal allows you to keep your assets, including your home and vehicles. It also stops harassing phone calls, wage garnishments, and lawsuits from creditors. Once it's completed, you'll be debt-free. Again, a complete and total lie. When you do a consumer proposal, everybody, what's going on here, Paul, maybe you don't know this, is that you're in a bit of a bind because life happens. It's just how it is. I don't judge people for the issues that come up in life.
yeah, and I don't feel embarrassed. Like, everyone gets in trouble sometimes. That's it.
Well, I've been wealthy twice in life, and I've been flat broke twice in life, and bankrupt once. I've been there. Yeah, and I like being wealthy, and I hate being broke.
Sure.
I think all of us will probably go along with that. But a consumer proposal obliterates your credit score, and you still owe the money, and you got to keep paying it. And every month, when you've got a really bad trustee like this A. Fisher guy, they're going to keep coming back every month asking for more money, which is what happened to you, isn't it?
Twice.
Oh, my
First,
God.
first, and then second, and then, well, the first was agreed. Second time came back, and then now they're looking for 805 a month. Like, it's just going up and up and up.
So they went from 500 to 805.
555 to 650 to 805.
Okay, so they're adding almost $300 a month to it, and
They're
again,
basically doubling it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's almost doubling, right? So,
and you hired this guy to get rid of your debt and not to
and
not
this
to double
30% garbage that he's got on his, they did nothing. They didn't advocate or lower any of that. Did they stop the interest? I don't know. I'm not privy. I'm not talking to the creditors.
Well,
They are.
He wouldn't tell me. I'm your representative, and he wouldn't tell me. I've sent him 5 emails since they so rudely kicked me out of this supposed court hearing, which, of course, was not a court hearing. It was a private meeting held by a private company. He lied to you and to me, saying it was a court hearing.
Honestly,
So-
after you told me no one was there, like, I'm pretty angry about that, man. Because that gave me that date, that 17th date. Listen, Kevin, I know you're behind me right now, but that date gave me anxiety, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sleeping, right? I feel so much better that you're with me now, but honestly, like it really drives me wacko that those guys would do that. Like, because I was worried about that date, you know?
Well, court sucks. I've been on the end where I've sued people and I've been sued and I've had to defend myself and defend others and so on in court. And it's a long, drawn out process. The court system in Canada, it's awful. It really is awful. But then you've got these private companies. Whenever a trustee is involved, they're not an officer of the court. So any meetings that are being held in private offices. All
Yeah,
right. So
and really the reason that I'm here with you tonight, we have to circle back, right? This isn't, I don't want to sit here online and cry the blues. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say that if you do have tax trouble, get in touch with Kevin J. Johnson. The other thing I'm going to say is that be wary of these outfits that are online. This is a two-pronged effect here. We're trying to like not let people do what I did, my own fault for stepping into the situation. But after I stepped into the situation, if something smells fishy, it probably is. And I want to tell everybody out there, if you feel something in your gut that you feel like it's not right, it's probably not right. Like, trust your gut. You have to be a critical thinker, and you have to do your own research. And after what I went through, my next step was to talk to Kevin, because I've been watching his career. I respect him, and I think a large part of the reason that I'm here tonight is because I don't want other people to fall into this trap. And I also want to advocate for Kevin as well, because he's advocating for me, and it means something. His word means something, and I appreciate you, Kevin.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you saying so. And I didn't bring you on the show to
I know.
advertise. I brought you on the show to help protect Canadians from the predatory behaviors
That's why I'm
of
here.
trustees. Yeah. And I appreciate that so much. So,
Not at all.
Paul, did you have any final words on this before I get into the real education? Because now it's education time for everybody.
Thank you. First, second, everybody, if you are in trouble and you need someone to advocate for you, Kevin J. Johnson is the guy to call. I trusted him implicitly with everything that he's doing with me. And please, please, please don't call a trustee. Stay away from consumer proposals, and don't fall into the trap with these charlatans that are online.
Yeah, Paul, that's great advice. And listen, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing this intimate story because we all need to hear it.
Hasta luego, amigo.
All right. Have a great night, pal. Take care. Ciao. Wow. Okay. So it's an incredibly sad story, but it is one that I will be working with Paul on to fix in its entirety. Trustees. I despise the term trustee because it actually is an extremely deceptive term. When someone is advertising that they're going to be an advocate for you, they have to be that. But a trustee, they get away with it a little bit. I'll tell you why. It's because they are licensed by the Law Society of the provinces in which they do business in Canada. And the trustees believe that because they've got that license, that they can behave in this fashion where they get bossy and they get ruly and they get obnoxious and they get pretentious, they all the above, and then start hunting for information from their own clients. Well, you heard Paul's story. They were fishing for information from him to go and snitch on him to his creditors. The way that it's supposed to be, when you hire a lawyer or a legal representative, that legal representative is supposed to tell you every single solitary legal means at your disposal to not pay the bill. When you get charged with a crime, your lawyer's job is to make sure that you get the charges thrown out, or to represent you well in court to get the charges or to get a not guilty verdict. He's supposed to be the guy that has your back. The trustees, they're licensed by the Law Society. And if any of you have ever been screwed by one of them, you've got the right to complain to the Law Society of that particular province. And when you're going to register these complaints, make sure that you tell them what happened. Don't make stuff up. But if the trustee told you that they were a lawyer or told you that they're going to be the one to advocate for you and they don't, then you can complain directly to the Law Society. Now, they're going to get a hearing and they're going to have to defend their stance, but you're also within your rights to file a lawsuit against that trustee for misrepresentation, breach of trust, breach of contract, whatever. Hit them hard. Special damages, especially. Now, in the United States, they've got pain and suffering. In Canada, it's called special damages, which is pain and suffering. You can also add punitive damages, which is a way to punish the individual company that has screwed you over. So if you're having trouble with your finances in Canada, never do a consumer proposal. Your credit rating is shot, you still owe the money, and the creditors will come back at any given time and ask you for more money. So with a credit rating that's shot and you still got to pay a debt, why would you go to someone who says, I can get rid of your debt? Debt relief. I'm just going to bring this guy's website back up on the screen for a quick second here. There we go. So he says debt relief. As debt levels in Canada continue to soar, thousands of families across the country are struggling to make ends meet. According to recent figures, Canadians owe $2.16 trillion. It's the highest debt load in the G7, including the US, UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan. From soaring credit bills and the high cost of rent or mortgage payments to keeping on top of the cost of day-to-day life, balancing the books can be easier said than done for many. That's why it's imperative to be aware of debt relief support that's available. All right. There's no one-size-fits-all approach when facing financial distress. Regardless of your circumstances, living with debt can be daunting. However, there are many solutions available that can turn your life around. What is that? Everything that I just read off this guy's website is crap. It's garbage. It doesn't say anything. He doesn't say how he's going to do it. He says, yeah, there's lots of remedies out there. Well, what remedy could a trustee offer? And they can't, because their very position, their very existence is to work for the creditor. They just lie to you and say they represent you. So please never do a consumer proposal. Ever, ever, never do it. The next thing is bankruptcy. You're going to find there's a lot of these bankruptcy specialists that are showing up all over the internet. To go bankrupt is great if it's personal, but why would you go bankrupt? Let's say you just owe like $30,000, $40,000 in tax. Don't go bankrupt. Let me redo your taxes. I'll get your tax bill to zero and the problem is solved. Save your bankruptcy for hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, not tens of thousands. If you truly are sinking in debt and you see absolutely no way out, then let's get more debt for you. Let's run your credit cards up to the maximum limit. Buy gift cards for groceries and for gas in the future. Ramp them right up. If you really feel you got to go bankrupt, don't try to save money. Go into even further debt. Even, get bank loans if you need to, and don't pay them. That's the bankruptcy thing. As an honest guy, I'm going to tell you, yeah, you know what? You've got $190,000 in debt. I don't see a way out for you. I'll analyze everything. And that's when I'm going to help you go further into debt, because it's the same price to go bankrupt on $1 as it is $1 million. I'm telling you, there's no difference in price at all. So sink it, bury it, right? Just really go deep into debt if you're going to go that route. But I don't recommend bankruptcy unless it's the only option that's left. Bankruptcy is the last thing that you do, not the first. And these bankruptcy losers, they are losers. A lot of them are just looking for a quick buck, and they're preying on desperate people. Don't go bankrupt, at least not until you've spoken to me. And after I have looked at your entire file, I'll tell you, yeah, there's no way out. But I'm looking to solve problems in the following way. Number one, can we just redo your taxes? Yeah, there's probably a mistake there. I'm willing to bet that the accountant that you hired is a coward and didn't put in your medical expenses, didn't put in your educational expenses, your previous legal fees, probably did not put in your previous accounting fees that you paid, probably did not find out what tools of the trade you had to purchase and write those off. There's so many write-offs that accountants don't put in. Why? Because they're afraid of the CRA. That's why. So we redo your taxes. And if that doesn't solve the entire problem, if you've got some credit card debt or you got some weird debts out there, I'm going to negotiate on your behalf to try to get your debt down. Because there are a lot of times where you can go directly to the credit card company. I can just say, I am the legal agent for John Smith, and John Smith would like to propose the following. Reduce the debt to 30% of what it is today, suspend the card for 6 months while he catches up, and if he makes all of his payments at a low rate, like $200 a month, reactivate the card. They'll do it. Even the Canada Revenue Agency, if you owe a huge amount of money, we have the capacity to tell the CRA, hey, guys, client doesn't have 200 grand. But I tell you what, we'll clear the tax bill for 15,000 and you alleviate them of the entire bill. Or the client goes bankrupt and you get nothing. You get nothing. You'll be amazed how many times the Canada Revenue Agency will say, oh, really? He's going to go bankrupt? Okay, we'll take the 15,000. Oh, yeah. I negotiate this stuff with the CRA all the time. So to recap, we're going to try to crush your tax debt. Try to get your tax debt to zero. Negotiate with your creditors, credit cards and lease companies and whoever else. And then beyond that, issue the threats to the CRA if we have to. And then beyond that, if there's absolutely nothing else that can be done, then and only then will I consider the bankruptcy. But I'm still going to walk you through the entire process. The entire process. Personal bankruptcies in Canada are incredibly easy because if it's a personal bankruptcy, then everything goes. If it's your first bankruptcy, it's just done. There's almost zero chance of anybody being able to hold the bankruptcy up. Corporate bankruptcies, on the other hand, well, everybody objects. All the creditors always object, and at least 2 or 3 objections are sustained. So there's a 0% chance that you're going to be alleviated of all of your debt. And the problem with that is if you go bankrupt with a corporation and you're the director of the corporation, the CRA will chase you for the goods and services tax and all the payroll taxes that you didn't pay. Unless you sell your corporation to me, in which case it's a share sale. I become the director. I own your company, and then they can chase me for all your debt and you get to start over. So these are the solutions that we've come up with because it's the least amount of stress and it's the fastest way to get things done. So for anybody who's looking to contact me, Mike, you're asking me how to contact me, just go to my website address. It's KevinJJohnston.com. Just my name, KevinJJohnston.com. Grab yourself a 1-hour consultation, and we're going to go through your tax problems and build you a strategy that's going to work, especially in Canada. Anthony says, do you know how to get around capital gains on crypto profits? Anthony, of course I do. And here's the advice for free right now. Be quiet. Shut up. Stop talking about your crypto profits. Who in their right mind, honestly, Anthony, this is not me being sarcastic towards you, but who out there in their right mind would ever phone the CRA or the IRS and say, hi, guys, I just tripled my money in XRP and I quadrupled my money in Bitcoin, and I would like you to tax me on that, please. Think about how crazy it would be to do that, considering the fact that there will be a bear market coming later this year. So Bitcoin's what, 145,000 Canadian right now per coin? It'll probably drop to about 80, 90. So imagine you paid a capital gain on 140, but then it goes back down to 90,000. So you gave away all that tax money and you lost in the bear market. No, when it comes to crypto, quiet, shut up. Don't say anything to the CRA. And I know that some of you in here were talking earlier in the chat rooms about capital gains on houses. If I am your if I'm your tax guy, I'm going to tell you the truth about how those work. And you're never going to pay capital gains. The big thing here with tax returns in Canada, everybody, is they say that it's mandatory to submit a tax return every year. Okay, it kind of is. Not entirely, but it kind of is. However, on the tax return, you just put your name, your social insurance number on it, signature, no numbers, and send it in. You've now met your only legal obligation to the Canada Revenue Agency. That's the only legal obligation that any of us have. Send one in. It's called a null return. Send it in, and they'll probably assess you and say you owe tax money, but that's what we appeal. And to appeal your tax assessment in Canada is completely free. And a tax assessment is not a binding contract. It's not even lawful. It's just them taking a guess. And if they're going to take a guess, well, we can say, we're going to appeal your guess. And then the onus is on them to prove that there was a debt, which they never do. They simply cannot do, period. Dave says, I was told you can't go bankrupt for taxes. Oh, sure you can. But I'm just saying, if you go corporately bankrupt, the what do you call it? The income tax, the CEBA loans, the grant money you get, all that stuff, that all goes away. But they will chase you for the goods and services tax and the payroll tax that you report. They'll chase you for that. So everybody, if you do have a corporation in Canada, payroll is also a very big problem. So what you should really do is get me to take over your payroll. And when you do that, you're going to be saving about $6,600 per year per staff member that you have, because I do not have to take the matching that you do on Canada Pension Plan or EI. So if any of you have corporations and you're sick to death of doing payroll and you want to save some money on your payroll, get a hold of me, because that is what we do. Thoughts on investing in second mortgages? Well, Mike, if you're talking about buying property in Canada, I don't know when the housing bubble is going to burst. But if somebody was going to buy a property, either to renovate it and flip it or to rent it out for profit, I'm always for it. Property, gold, silver, crypto. You've heard me say it all the time. Property, gold, silver, crypto, but good crypto, Bitcoin, that the good stuff. So I'm okay with it. And I would always recommend, if you can afford to get a second mortgage on a property and buy a second property, great. But carrying two mortgages on the same property, it's better to go with one mortgage with a private lender than it is to have two mortgages, because negotiating with two lenders is a major, major pain in the ass. Okay. What if the corporation that went bankrupt is owned by another corporation? Nothing. Then you're okay. You should always make sure that the corporation that you're running, especially if there's payroll involved, is owned by an umbrella corporation. Absolutely. Now you've got it. Now you guys are thinking that's the right way to do it. All right, we're down to our last minute here for tonight, folks. So I just want to tell you all that I can't wait to help you all with your tax problems. When the Canada Revenue Agency calls and asks you for anything, do not answer their questions. Bring me on board as your legal agent, and then they have to talk to me. And what's the best way to pay yourself from a limited company, D. Carly, is to just take money out of the account, make sure I'm your tax guy, and we're not going to report it to the CRA. Because like I just said, anything that you put on a tax return is voluntary information. You don't have to tell them anything. It's just that I am the only one brave enough, everyone, to do what's right for you, the client. We're not going to report any of this stuff into the CRA because it's none of their business, and all they're going to do is penalize you for it. They didn't earn it, you did, so let's get you to keep it. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show, which is every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. right here on freedomreport.ca. And if you have any tax problems, get a hold of me at my personal website at KevinJJohnston.com. That's KevinJJohnston.com. I'll see you all in a week. Love you all, and good night.